Hi, and welcome to the Unconditional Podcast, brought to you by realestate.co.nz. And in this edition, we're looking at the New Zealand Property Report for the month of July. Here we are at the beginning of August, and we're looking back over the statistics of the realestate.co.nz website for the month of July. And what we look at is the amount of new listings that have come on the market. We look at the asking price expectation of those listings. We also look at what is the state of the market as seen from the number of new listings and total listings on the market. And what we've seen in July is something we've been witnessing for a number of months through this year, which is a progressive reduction in the inventory of properties on the market. Now, at the start of this year, we really sat down with a large inventory. We measure inventory, which is the number of properties on the market, not in absolute terms, although we keep a record of that. We put it into perspective by saying, what is the rate of sale of property, and therefore how long would it take to sell what is on the market? And this year started at a traditional but extremely high level, around 52 weeks. That is to say, in theory, at the beginning of the year, there was enough inventory to last the whole year in theory. Now, that was a combination of a slow property market through 2010, property was not selling very fast, and there was a regular flow of new listings coming onto the market. Now, in the last 3 to 4 months, since the end of the summer, we've seen a significant slowing in the number of new listings coming on the market. And that has meant that the level of inventory has fallen. But in fact, the inventory has fallen even faster than we expected because sales have picked up. And this is the important aspect of our property market in New Zealand at the moment. We literally have a situation of divergence. We have a decline in the number of new listings, and we have a steady improvement in the level of sales coming from the market. And that is causing a situation where that 52 weeks we started at the beginning of the year has now dropped to 38 weeks. Which is quite a significant movement when you think that's occurred in the space of only 3 or 4 months. And in fact, at 38 weeks, which is the figure for July, that is now below the long-term average, which is 41 weeks for the country. So what we now are saying is that the New Zealand property market is now in a seller's market as opposed to a buyer's market. When it sits above the long-term average of 41 weeks, we're in a buyer's market. When it sits below 41 weeks as a measure, we see a seller's market. What's a seller's market? What's a buyer's market? Simply put, a buyer's market is where the upper hand lies in the buyers. They generally have the time and the flexibility to investigate all the property on the market, be in control of the buying process. They can make very strong offers. Because there's a lot of people trying to sell, they've got the opportunity. We are moving out of that market. We've been moving out of it for a couple of months. We're now quite clearly in a seller's market where the upper hand really lies with those who are prepared to put their property on the market. Because whilst there are buyers in the market, there are less sellers. So putting your property on the market at the moment allows you to really ensure you get a quick sale and potentially a good sale at a good price because the buyers out there are keen to buy and they're buying. Property sales over the last 3 months have picked up quite considerably. And now here's a key statistic. If you take the last 3 months, which is a period from April to June, the New Zealand property sales have gone up 11% as compared to a year ago. But if you compare that, say, the first quarter, they were down 3% year on year. So we can clearly see to what extent property sales are picking up. Now compare those numbers with the fact that in the first quarter of this year, new listings were 15% down, and in the second quarter of the year, they were 15% down year on year. So new listings are going down by 15%, while sales are going up by 11%. Now, I should highlight those numbers actually are adjusted for Christchurch, because clearly, with what has been experienced in the Christchurch market over the last 6 months, going on for a year now, sadly since the first earthquake, has somewhat destabilised that market. It's still a robust market, but it's had a significant impact. So for the benefit of getting clarity in the New Zealand market, what I've done is extracted the Canterbury section and just looked at the rest of the country, and that's where I've seen this significant change with listings continue to decline, but sales picking up. And that is where we find ourselves in the most situation where we're seeing inventory at a low level. Now, it has been a case that it's been pockets of the country that have seen a reduction in inventory faster than others. And it has been a case that the main metropolitan areas have seen the highest level of activity and therefore the greatest reduction in listings over the last 3 or 4 months. But actually that's spreading now. So looking at July, the real powerhouse of activity and where there is a classic sellers market, definitely in Auckland. Absolutely in Queenstown, emerging in the Nelson, Marlborough area. We're seeing it right through the Bay of Plenty and the Waikato area and Otago. So you're really starting to see it move out of the main urban metropolitan areas and into the regional areas. I should also point out that Wellington, which traditionally does have low inventory, is now below its long-term average. So it is a polarization from the main urban centres out to the regions. There are 1 or 2 exceptions, and they may change in time, but still on that east coast through Gisborne down to the Wairarapa, still quite a lot of inventory. Through the Coromandel, still quite a lot of inventory. They're still in somewhat of a buyer's market, and Northland the same. So this issue of a lack of listings is really becoming a big issue. And speaking to any real estate agent, talking about the market, you'll hear that issue raised. Not enough listings, good buyer demand, not coming through in the market. Now, the third metric we look at aside from listings and inventory is asking price. Now, economists will tell you if a product is in short supply and there is strong demand, prices will rise. But what we are seeing at the moment, and it is the picture we see for July, is of those around 9,000 new listings coming on the market in July, we actually saw the asking price, which is a calculation of the average asking price adjusted for the extremes of the market, actually come down in July. Now, there is a seasonal factor. Through the winter, we see less listings and we see the asking price fall, and we've seen it. It's not a massive fall, but it is significant because it is what you would not expect, if I could put it that way. Because if you're seeing a shortage of listings, you're seeing a low inventory, and you're seeing a steady rise in sales, there should be price pressure. It doesn't seem to be showing in the asking price. So this seems to be a market which, and you've got to put things in context, we're still seeing a relatively quiet market, but it's more active than we've seen for at least 2 years. It is seeing sellers attracted to the market, but they are not as yet, and may not be for quite a while, overly optimistic of getting a high price. What they're more interested, I suspect, is selling. They want transaction, they want to move on, they want to get their house sold, and they're responding to a market price that is allowing those properties to be sold, which is why we're seeing sales volume increase. So this is really quite a stable, yet quite a responsive market, and not a market that's hyperinflated, because we're seeing good transaction rises, say 11% up last 3 months on the prior year. That is meeting a lessening of the stock of property on the market, and the buyers are moving quickly because property is potentially in short supply, particularly when you break down the regions into individual suburbs or areas. So this is a market that if you're looking to put your property on the market, it is a good time. We are coming through winter into spring, and spring is a traditional time when more people are out there looking and more people are keen to put their property on the market. Get in quick, get your property on the market early and reap the benefits. If you're looking to buy, there is no doubt that those interest rates are still an attractive proposition. The indications are by early part of next year they will be on the rise, so maybe this is a time to really make that move. And if you need to sell to then buy, then really think about your timing and be realistic about that property price, because it's a better proposition to be able to go out there confidently with a buyer in your pocket for your house to be able to make a really good offer for a property that you want to move into before Christmas. And acting now is in the best interest. So that's a snapshot of the property market for July. The full details with all the statistics can be found on unconditional.co.nz, and you click on the tab for the New Zealand Property Report. It's a comprehensive 8-page report breaking down the regions, giving you the whole picture. Really encourage you to read that, use it, share it, and learn from it. Each month we produce that report on the beginning of the month, and we'll be following it up with a video in the future of the next couple of months as we move into the spring season. So thank you for joining us on Unconditional webcast today, and we look forward to seeing you again next time.